Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. So in this video I wanted to introduce my mountain bike and talk about a few little upgrades I've done to it and just generally what my plans are moving forward. So this is my first proper mountain bike that I've ever bought. It is a Trek Marlin 6. Now for some of you out there who maybe know a bit about bikes or whatever else, the Trek Marlin is it's a budget, like beginner hardtail. This is the Gen 3 model, so it's slacker geometry. It's about 66, or in my current setup, more like 65-degree head tube angle. So it's quite slack, a bit more, stable on the downhills, on the trails and stuff, compared to the Gen 2, which was much more XC focused. But it is still very much a kind of beginner, short suspension travel, quite basic bike. And yeah, there'll be people out there that say that it's, maybe not the best when compared to something like the Roscoe or something like that, which is obviously more expensive, so you'd expect that. But one thing I will say, this is actually a lot more capable than you might think, particularly with the little changes that I've made, which I will go over shortly. So for right this second, this is my only bike. However, in the next couple of months, I'm going to be getting the components together and building an enduro bike. So this bike will be very much for flow trails, for single track, for the sort of lighter, trails. And then the enduro bike, of course, will be for the more aggressive, tech trails and stuff like that, which I'm hoping to do moving forward. But let's just go over the bike and I'll sort of show you what I've done. So as I say, it's a Trek Marlin 6. So right out the box, it's a 29er. This is the large frame. I'm 5'11", so this frame size fits me kind of perfectly. It's like I say, it's the 6. So it's got a 1x10, fairly basic Shimano Diora drivetrain. Does have a clutch derailleur, which is pretty good. And it does come from the factory with tubeless wheels and tyres. When you buy it, it does have tubes, so you have to set it up tubeless, but it is all ready to go for that. However, like I say, I have made a few changes to this particular bike. So one of the most major changes, I would say, is the suspension. So the original suspension was a RockShox Judy coil, obviously 29 wheel butts with 100 millimeters of travel. This now is a RockShox Recon Gold, and it's also tapered. So the original was a straight steer tube or a straight fork. This is a tapered fork. So in order to fit that onto the frame, I have used an external bottom headset from Ritchie, which is also a cartridge bearing as well. So that's allowed me to fit a tapered fork onto the straight tube. Whilst I was at it, I also upgraded the top to a cartridge bearing, and we've also got because the fork is in fact a through axle boost, because the original fork was a QR, like a quick release skewer, so the front wheel's actually been changed as well. It's still a Bontrager Covey, so it's the same wheel that came on the bike, but obviously with a different hub. So that's the biggest upgrade. Obviously this fork, compared to the previous one, it's air, so that allows me to adjust the the spring rate based on how much air pressure I put in. We've also got rebound adjustments. I think it's something like, is it 15 clicks or something like that of rebound adjustment, and a remote lockout as well. So it's still a fairly basic fork when compared to like the much more expensive trail forks and stuff like that. But when you compare it to the fork that came on it, it's lighter, it's stronger, it's got slightly bigger stanchions. These are 32 compared to the 30s on the Judy, I believe. But it is a lot lighter, mainly because of the air tube and the fact it's aluminium, not steel. So that's probably the biggest upgrade to the bike. The second, I would say, biggest thing was the dropper post. So we've got an internally routed dropper post with the lever on the handlebars there. this is something that the Gen 3s can do. The second generation Marlins, they can have an internally routed dropper post, but it's a bit more difficult because the inside here, down here, the hole, there is a hole between there, but it's much smaller, so it's a lot more fiddly. But it's bigger on the Gen 3s, so it's a lot easier to fit the dropper post. Okay, sorry, just had to move because I was kind of in the way of some people. So yeah, as I was saying, the dropper post on the Gen 3, it's very easy. There's that big hole, makes it a lot easier to route the cabling, and yeah, the Gen 3 Marlin 7, I think. Definitely the Marlin 8 comes with a dropper post from the factory. Maybe the 7 does as well, I'm not entirely sure. But I bought the 6 for a very good reason, which I will also come on to in a minute. So the next upgrade, probably the last upgrade actually, that I have done to this bike is the bottom bracket. So originally it uses a square taper bottom bracket, which is quite typical, I would say, of the budget options. However, the Marlins are fully compatible with the oh, hang on, you see it in there you go, the Holotech 2 bottom bracket system. So obviously I bought the bottom bracket and the crank set, because another thing that one thing I didn't like when I bought it was that it had an almost complete Shimano drivetrain. So it had a Diora derailleur, Diora cassette, and the Shimano chain, but it had a different brand, like an FSA Alpha Drive front sprocket, which didn't match the rest of the drivetrain. And I know it might not make a huge difference, but I tend to find components work best together when they're designed to work together, which these are, and I just like it all to be one thing. So I've obviously changed to some Shimano Diora cranks as well. And in actual fact, the rear system is the Shimano M5100 system, so I've got the M5100 cranks and bottom bracket to match the whole drivetrain up nicely. Otherwise, that's basically it. I'm running the same 2-pot brakes. I did actually, for a little while, I did upgrade them to 4-pot calipers, but honestly, this bike out of the factory weighs something around 14.5 kilograms with the lighter forks and other stuff, because I'm also running tubeless setup. The bike weighs just over 12, so it's really quite light, and I found that the 4-pot calipers were just unnecessary. So I took them off because I'm going to be using them on my enduro bike, which is obviously a more appropriate application anyway. So that's basically all there is to it. I'm running clipless pedals. I like to run clipped in, and I'm also running, again, maybe a bit of a strange one for this bike, considering it's like a light trail bike, but I am running quite aggressive tyres. I've got a Schwalbe Magic Mary on the front and a hand stamp for the back. Quite gravity orientated tyres, very grippy. However, I find, interestingly, the rolling resistance of these tyres on the road is really not that bad. Obviously, I don't do a lot of riding on the road, so it's, not a big deal anyway. But even when I do, and when I'm climbing the fire tracks and stuff, I really, I've done a back-to-back comparison this week, actually, of the original Maxxis Ardent race tyres, which are more kind of cross-country tyres, and then compared to these much more aggressive treads on these tyres. Running the same pressures, but I really don't personally notice a huge difference in rolling resistance when I'm climbing and stuff like that. There will be a difference, and certainly if I was racing that I would notice a difference, but because I'm not, I find that actually it's totally fine. And definitely when it comes to descending and stuff like that, the grip that these tyres give in all weathers. I've been riding this thing, obviously now it's summer and I'm enjoying all the trails, but I've been running this thing in the snow in the winter, down some trails in the snow as well, and these things just grip. Bear in mind, these tyres are the basic compound, so obviously when you buy these tyres you can choose from different compounds, different softness, different casings and stuff like that. These are just the basic, I think they're Bike Park ones actually, but they were the cheapest versions of these tyres that I could buy at the time, and yeah, honestly I am super happy with them. So yeah, just quickly going back to the suspension, because I kind of forgot to mention, I'm running, it's set to 110 millimeters of travel, so I've got 10 more mil of travel, which is, you know, not huge, but it does make a surprising difference. And then I'm actually running relatively low air pressure. I'm running about 30% sag, which normally you would run a maximum of 25. I'm running 30, but then I'm also running one volume spacer. So what I've ended up with is a really nice supple fork that soaks up the kind of small bumps. So the small bump sensitivity is really quite nice, but it still has a good support. Once I get sort of halfway through the fork's travel, the support ramps up, and when I go over some slightly bigger things, it, you know, works quite well. So this is what I'm working with at the minute. Like I say, it's still the sort of budget beginner option, but you know, let's be honest, I am a beginner, so it's absolutely perfect. My goal is to ride, progress my skills, and I particularly enjoy sort of technical riding, you know, picking my way down technical trails and stuff, which is why I'm also going to start, as I say, building in the next couple of months an enduro bike, which I will do a build series on, or at least a build video, and, you know, build it up, because I am a mechanic, so motorcycle mechanic, but I do know my way around the bikes as well. So I want to build the bike myself for fun, because I do enjoy building stuff. And then my goal with that is, obviously, I want to ride more aggressive trails and build my skills more and more on both bikes. So, you know, this will still very much be my bike for a lot of trails, but I'll just have the full suspension enduro for the more aggressive stuff. And then ultimately, my goal, I'm hoping, in the next couple of years, I would really like to ride the Mega Avalanche. Not to race it. I have no illusions that I'm gonna, you know, sort of by that point get to the point where I would be able to race and be competitive. I just want to do it for the experience. I want to ride from the top to the bottom, make it to the bottom, and, you know, just experience it is my kind of goal there. In the meantime, I'm going to be riding lots of trails. Coming up on the channel are going to be, you know, lots of POV rides, bit of maintenance, that kind of stuff, but just me taking you guys along with me on my sort of journey as I progress and learn and generally have a fantastic time. I mean, I live in such a beautiful place that has so many beautiful trails, so even if you just enjoy seeing the nature and all that kind of stuff, there's definitely going to be a lot to be enjoyed, even as I'm, you know, not a pro racer riding down World Cup lines or anything like that. It's just absolutely stunning in this area. I do also hope to do some travelling to other places as well, hopefully abroad at some point when the kids are a little bit older and I can get out a bit more. I'd like to take the bikes, or at least one of the bikes, abroad and get some trails and bits in other countries. So that's it. That's the intro to the bike and a little bit of what's coming up next. The next video, actually I've got a new action camera which I want to test out in a minute, so the next video is probably going to be a test of that camera, and yeah, we'll see how it goes from there. So thank you guys for watching. If you have made it to the end, like I think ramble on just a little bit, but hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like, please subscribe to the channel, go check out my other videos. For those of you who might be interested in motorcycle content, I do also have some motorcycle stuff, because this channel previously was not necessarily a motorcycle channel, but it was sort of heavily focused on motorcycles because I just have a passion for all kind of two-wheeled vehicles. So, you know, for those who are interested in motorcycles, there's playlists for that. For those who are only interested in the mountain bikes, absolutely fair enough, there's the playlists for that. There's no obligation to watch the other videos. But yeah, as I say, thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you all soon.